To order. Welcome. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Recording in progress.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Jim. Sound additions to the agenda, we would like to add opening the
We
cemetery.
can't hear any audio, you're muted.
Okay. Second,
Try that.
how's that?
Yes, we can hear you now, thank you.
Okay, additions to the agenda would be the Conservation Committee and opening the cemeteries. We put that down under new business. My remarks there, we were saddened to hear of Jack Falvey's death. He gave a lot to this town and we appreciate his contributions. Okay, open public comment for items not on the agenda. Seeing anybody rush. Yes,
I'm
Georgia.
not sure whether this goes under now or old business, but I was just looking for an update on the ban. Because earlier, like, I'm thinking December, we were supposed to buy the new van and put the old van out for a bid.
They're working on it, that's all I know. Does anybody?
Shelley, do you have a?
Shelley?
As far as I know, it's been ordered, but it may take, what is it, 18 months?
Oh, wow.
I think when I talked to him, he was hoping the cab and chassis would be June, if not everything.
Okay. It's a process, it's, yes, unfortunately.
Thank you for the update. Okay. All right, approval of minutes. Regular meeting, March 18th.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting from Tuesday, March 18th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, David, you're up.
We have 2 papers for the states to sign. The annual financial plan on the highways and certification of compliance for town roads and bridges.
Anything changed?
Nothing's changed.
Do we have a motion? Jim,
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the town road and bridges standards and inventory certificate of compliance.
do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now the annual financial plan.
And what?
Annual financial plan.
Oh, that's not what was on here? Okay. Oh, that's this one, okay. All right. I move that we approve the annual financial plan for the town highways.
Do we have a second?
I'd second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you. You done? Thanks very much. Friends of Vernon Cemeteries.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
would you like me to do the warrant?
I'd probably be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do
Sorry about that.
I move that we approve payment of the following warrant. 19T accounts payable, $81,407.88. 11S payroll, $9,769.55, and 12S payroll, $8,727.60.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very true. It's approved. Okay, now, Friends of Vernon Cemetery. Sure.
So, the Friends of Vernon Cemeteries had Charlie Marchant come and talk, and Jean also was there at the meeting. It was pretty informative. He shared some of the things that he does in his cemeteries in his town in Townsend. One of which I gave Shelley. It's just a simple Word document that shares the stone that was worked on, the work that was done, the name on the stone, and then the town clerk actually files that in Townsend, which I thought was a really good idea. And with that, if anyone inquires about their stones, if they're the older stones, you have this record of any work being done. And oftentimes this segues into the next thing, which people ask if they can give a donation to the town. So I kind of wanted to ask about that and if there's a pathway for that. Right now, we have budgets for each cemetery, so a person might want to give a specific donation to a specific cemetery if we keep this current system. So that's one thing. The next thing that was pretty clear in the meeting is that there was some interest in the tomb because I was asking questions about the tomb and what responsibilities we had there and if there are any grants to maintain things. And there's a lot of interest in folks seeing the tomb, but when I tried to follow up on keys for the cemeteries, the gates, keys for the Tyler shed, and then the tomb, there seems to be a kerfluffle about maybe the tomb might not be labeled, but David just said that he did maybe have a key for the tomb, but then the other keys I don't believe are here for the town to have. So it might be something we'd want to look at to get those keys here, or copies. And oh, what's that? I'm sorry.
No, I said that we could take that to the cemetery committee.
Yes. Yep. I think she's here actually.
Yeah, she probably want to take it.
Mary Lynn's on.
Yeah. So then, one of the last. Not that you need to know, we're gonna make another appointment to come in and take specific photos of specific things that we'd like to do at Tyler Cemetery for our first approved volunteer day. But some of the things that Charlie uses would be D2, like they use in the Arlington Cemetery. And he had some really specific cleaning advice and ways to look at what projects we should attack first. And the first thing that we really should address is the numerous leaning stones because they're vulnerable but not broken and they're actually a danger. So he did say one of the first things that we should do is work on those, and then anything that's broken will probably be pushed off for next year as we kind of get our feet underneath us. But one of our main goals will be to address things as he kind of specified were necessary or and kind of protecting the town's assets. Yeah, so that's, I think, is there anything that you thought?
That was it.
Yeah, so those are some of the things that we sort of had questions about and thought we should bring it up here.
So what's your date in May?
What?
The date in May?
It's the 24th.
Great.
And it's just from 8 to 12. And I'll also be putting information out on the Facebook town sites, different things like that. So I'm hoping we get a good showing. It'll be good. And we'll be back in early May just to go over exactly what we're gonna do so y'all can approve it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
Town Deputy Forest Fire Warden.
The town clerk had received an email from the state Vernon Selectboard needed to, I do believe it was approved. The, Forest Fire Warden, the term, I think is 5 years. I think it's expiring. It's the second vote.
Do we have a motion?
Can Dr. Jesse?
So we forward with this continuing,
As far as I know,
deputy forester, yes.
as far as I know, because I do believe that Tom has had that conversation.
Okay. He's doing a good job.
Madam Chair, I move that we reappoint Jesse Jobin for the position of Deputy Town Forest Fire Warden.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries and passes around. M&T Signer Letter.
Do you stick to that?
Yes.
Okay. So we, the last meeting, had approved and signed an M&T Signer Letter for the interim treasurer. The interim treasurer has appointed the town clerk as her assistant statutorily, and in the event that something happens, she needs to also be signer on town accounts.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve Heidi Johnson Clement as a signer of the M&T accounts.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Will you pass that to Sherry, please? Okay, Great River Hydro offer of, well, let's do this conservation. I don't see you
From the
here.
Conservation.
Okay. All right, then, we need to open the cemeteries. I guess we're out of snow. So I'll entertain a motion to open the cemeteries. Mary, then effective tomorrow?
That would be good.
Okay. Effective tomorrow.
Madam Chair, I move that we open the cemeteries effective April 2nd.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, Great River Hydro offer of settlement.
Madam Chair, I move to find that premature general public knowledge of the pending agreement with Great River Hydro will clearly place the town of Vernon at a substantial disadvantage by disclosing our negotiation strategy.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Madam Chair, I move that we enter executive session to discuss the town's agreement with Great River Hydro.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're going into executive session at 6:50. Okay, we're into executive session at 6:50. Came out at 6:54 and no action was taken. So we're into Great River Hydro Solar Array, and I believe we have a whole team here.
You do. My name is Neil Spain. If this is the right time, I'd like to
This is the time.
chat. Again, Neil Spain from Aegis Renewable Energy. We are the company that will be installing the solar array for Great River Hydro. And Brandon and Craig are here to represent Great River Hydro. And they'll be chiming in as I go through my presentation. But essentially what I wanted to do is just give you all an update on our progress in moving the project forward and addressing the community's concerns. And so I guess one thing I'll just start out by saying is that as we're developing a project like this, it's a very iterative process. We don't start out insisting and demanding that our design is what ends up being approved. We start out with a design that we present to all the stakeholders, and then we hear all the feedback that we get from those stakeholders, whether they be abutting landowners or public bodies like yourselves or the state, or agencies like the Agency of Natural Resources. So we take all that feedback in, and it's feedback on our initial design. And we know that it's the right thing and it's the necessary thing to make modifications to that design in response to what we hear. So we have been taking feedback from the community and from all of the stakeholders throughout this process. We've been going throughout this process for several months now. We're taking our time to make sure that we get it right before it gets submitted to the state for our application for a certificate of public good through the Section 248 process. But we want to make sure that before we submit it to the state, we've heard everyone's feedback. We've adjusted our design to accommodate that feedback, and find the best possible project for the community, for the owner, and for the state as a whole. So that's really been our mindset. That's what we truly believe is the right way to do it. And as a result, my company, we've been doing this since 2011. And this is the process we take, is we're very engaged with all stakeholders. And as a result, we have a very good track record with our communities and with getting projects approved. So why don't I just give you a little bit of a sense of what we originally started with, and then I'll show you where we are right now from a design perspective and what the pieces of input are that have affected the design where we currently stand. So this, I have actually a laser pointer. Yes.
Nils, do you want Aaron or myself to share designs on a projector screen to follow along? Would that be helpful?
That would be very helpful, yes. If you could pull up the initial design.
Yeah.
And then we'll go into the design where we stand right now, and then we'll talk about the design with the variants.
The host needs to allow for sharing.
Okay.
Please and thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Leah, I think you're good to go. Great. Okay, so.
Yep, we can see it. Can you all see that now? Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Is it the same as that one?
This is the same as this one. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So maybe I'll just stick with pointing to this so you can get a sense of where we are right now. This is the original design that was presented to the Conservation Committee and to the Planning Board. So you can see that there's some rows down here and down here. These have been removed, and I'll show you in the current design how those have been removed. To give you a little bit of the lay of the land, Frank LaFlamme lives right over here, and he expressed some concern over the view across the street, looking into the array over here. He was asking for us to put a 10-foot stockade fence there so that it would cover the full height of the solar array. We have quite a bit of experience with stockade fences, and we understand that, wind does rip through here periodically. And we want to make sure that whatever we install is going to be there for the life of the system. So we strongly believe that an 8-foot fence is really as high as we can credibly go and expect it to withstand the elements. So what we've done instead, because we don't feel that's a reasonable option for the community, and also 10-foot high stockade fence for people driving by might be kind of a little bit not attractive for them. So what we've done is we've added some berming, some earthen berms that are about 3 feet high, to right in front of the stockade fence, across from his and his neighbor's property. And then we have added in that design plantings that will start out at 4 to 6 feet tall, but eventually they will grow up to about 15 feet or so. They'll probably be something like a cedar or arborvitae, something like that. And so that will provide a much more aesthetic mitigation of the visual impact that I think will look a lot better from Governor Hunt Road, and also be more pleasing for Frank Lamb and his neighbors to look at instead of just a giant white wall of stockade fence. So that's one area that we've made modifications to the design. And then we have also made adjustments on the northern edge of the array to stay a little bit further away from the northern windrow of trees, as well as just a little further away from the trees in general. So that we've done that. We're also ensuring that the vast trail still has the ability to get around the array and go north from. Originally, they were going straight through the array and then across the field in the northern neighbor. So this way they'll run along the south edge of the array and then around it up. But it will still work for them, assuming we get some snow. It's not been a very snowy winter here. So and then for Shelley Harvey down here, we have been working with them to find the right mitigation strategy for visual impact for them. Currently, she has an offer from Great River Hydro to for either us or for the contractor of her choice to go in, install a 100-foot long shade screening element that will be 40 feet of stockade fence over where her septic system is, and then the other section will be 60 feet of arborvitae or something similar, really the planting of her choice for that remaining 60 feet. So we've been collaboratively working with Shelley even as recently as yesterday to make sure that the agreement meets her needs.
Is it fair to say that adjustment to the panels in that corner is also going to help? We're going to move the array a little further away from the property,
yes,
and do less tree clearing than was originally planned.
Yeah. So when I'll show you the revisions to the design, but these 2 rows here have been, or maybe even 3 rows, there 2 rows have been eliminated down here to this new design. Actually, yeah, thank you, Leah. So you can see here, these, I guess they're yellow, I'm colorblind, so they're either green or yellow. These modules and rows down here and here, these are what were originally in the original design. They're ghosted here because they've been eliminated, but we want you to be able to see what the original design was versus what our current design is. So you can see that, and this is a result of taking in feedback from historic preservation as well as Agency of Natural Resources. So having taken in both feedback from both of those parties, we have adjusted our array design. So this has resulted in a reduction. I can't remember exactly what the percentage was, but something like 17% reduction in the system size as a result of the feedback that we responded to. Now what I'm going to show you here is where the archaeological boundary is now. So there's an area that we are protecting from any development, not only from the solar array, but also from future development as well, because now it is a designated archaeological resource that the state knows about. So that is one of the several positive things that have come out of this exploration and interaction with the stakeholders is that we now have designated an archaeological area that is now protected. And so that area is this area right here. It says Arch on it, but yeah, thank you, Leah. So it's this entire area there and an area over here to the southwest as well. And it continues beyond the property boundary into the southern property as well, right there. So this area designated as archaeologically sensitive is an area that we cannot go below the surface of the ground in. So we can clear trees in that location, but we cannot do any stumping. So we would grind the stumps to the surface and then leave the subsurface completely undisturbed. And then, of course, because we can't penetrate the ground, we wouldn't be putting any foundations in for solar arrays, or we even explored doing ballasted rows for that area, but we decided that it wasn't the appropriate approach. So we decided to eliminate the modules from those areas. So that's these areas here. And one of the things we also have done is we're popping up, we're going underground power from the equipment, central equipment area straight along this access road. And then we're popping up to.
I'm popping it for you. All over the place.
Okay, freeze it there. We're popping up with a pole right here and going overhead to avoid impact to archaeological area. So that's one piece of this, and then there's the Agency of Natural Resources has our engineers have walked and talked extensively with Agency of Natural Resources to get their input on where the riparian buffer zone is and where the wetland delineation buffer zone is as well. So we have adopted their feedback without any modifications. We've accepted their feedback 100%. And that is this line right here. So you can see there, this whole cross-hatched area is their wetland buffer boundary. So having taken that feedback in, that adjusted where we could do solar arrays outside of the archaeologically sensitive areas as well. Okay, so we now have that. I think what I'd like to do is first take any questions, and then I'll talk about the variants that we're interested in talking to Agency of Natural Resources about as it relates to a small area right in here. But first, any questions?
Brandon?
Yeah, define archaeologically sensitive.
Yeah, so as part of the assessment of the site, Great River Hydro hired a company called PAL to do an archaeological or a phase 2 archaeological study in the area where we would be performing work, including the property to the south as well. And as a result of their, how many test pits?
Many.
Many, like more than 50, perhaps even 100.
And it's important to point out that phase 2 is a result of evidence from phase 1 study that was initially done,
Right.
which studied the entire site,
Yeah.
identified areas that were of potential interest on this end, and then they conducted a phase 2 study where they had hits in the phase 1, and then they did more extensive work and more extensive archaeological research there, where they were digging larger test pits and everything, and that's when they discovered there was meaningful material in those locations, and they then drew the sensitivity boundaries based on that information.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So meaningful material, what does that mean?
Arrowheads.
Yeah, I mean, it could mean any number of different things.
Okay.
It's not like burial sites or things like that, but it would be it'd be shards of either old, sometimes there was just pottery or foods perhaps, or it's hard to know, but it could be any number of things.
Okay.
But generally speaking, I mean, if you think of this area, and there would have been a natural fall sort of in the area where the station now is, the hydro station is.
Okay.
There would be an area where fish would certainly, migratory fish would gather at the base of the falls naturally. And so Native Americans would naturally gather there at the same time to harvest those things.
Okay.
And of course, the Connecticut River was also a very common migratory route for Native Americans. And so there's, oftentimes settlements in the floodplains in and around.
Okay.
So.
I just didn't know if there were bones. Like,
That would be a much bigger discovery.
Okay. And then I just have one more question. So vegetation gets out of control really fast. I heard you mentioning, nice 8-foot high, I'm guessing vinyl fencing
Yes.
that you're hoping will last 20 years. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
And then vegetation on these mounds of dirt that you have. Are you gonna just be having someone also just generally keep an eye on this? Because this could get out of control and look pretty bad pretty fast. So,
Vegetation management is a common and regular thing that has to happen around and within the solar array for the life of the project.
all right, great. And I just know my house gets out of control real fast. Oh boy.
Well, you can imagine, we don't see trees growing up in the middle of the solar array and shading the solar array.
Yeah.
So vegetation management is a critical component of this project.
We've got local staff at the hydro facilities.
Right.
So
Director, I just wanted to share this photo if that can be of any help as well.
Thank you, Leah. So this is a project we built last year for the town of Colchester. It is right next to a road. It's every bit as close as Governor Hunt Road is to this array. We did berming along the front of that stockade fence. That's an 8-foot tall stockade fence, and this is arborvitae planted right in front of it. So.
Jean, did you have any questions?
Okay. Great. So why don't I jump into the variance then?
Nils, can I ask a question? Just for clarification, between that crosshatch section and then the array, that's going to be stumped. That's the section that you're going to stump.
Yeah, so when I go through the variance, you'll see where we're planning on clearing and what we're planning on doing in that entire area that will be cleared. So yes, I'll answer that question coming up in just a minute. Thank you. Okay, so this is, Leah, if we could go to the variance one. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so what we are hoping to do, and we think that this is actually, this will be a net benefit for the community, for the state, and for everyone, to take this approach with the project, it's really up to Agency of Natural Resources if they want to accept this offer, which we feel is, again, very positive. But you can see this very small area right here in the center that's yellow. So that's about 5,000 square feet. So what that is what we want to do is we want to try to avoid shading the central area of the array as much as possible. So trees in this area are particularly impactful to energy production. What we'd like to do is just take a small piece of that, these two lobes of trees that are in that central area and cut those. We would leave anything that's 15 feet high and shorter. So we'd only cut trees that are above 15 feet in height for that area. And then in exchange for allowing us to do that, and again, let me just point out here that the top of the slope is like right around here. So we're not at the slope. So we're not cutting trees right at the top of the slope. We're a little bit further away from that. Not a lot, but we're a little away from that. We would not do any stumping of these trees. We would just, the bigger trees we would cut, and the 15-foot tall and shorter trees would stay in place. So in exchange for that 5,000 square feet of variance from Agency of Natural Resources, we would agree not to cut anything below 15 feet in this blue area here and these blue areas here. So that's a total of, I think, 67,000 square feet, which is a mitigation ratio of something like 1 to 12. Normally mitigation is 1 to 4 or 1 to 10 max. So this is 1 to 12. And again, we'd only be cutting anything above 15 feet. Everything else would stay. And then everything outside of these areas, Shelley, we would cut and then grind the clumps to the ground. Everything north of the blue or yellow area. Shelley, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
And is it safe to say, Nils, just for clarity here, is that as we were talking earlier, the long-term vegetation management in that area would be to maintain the vegetation at 15 feet or less and treat for any non-native invasive species that could potentially come in there. And so what you'd end up with is a 15-foot tall, basically shrub brush area that is all natural native vegetation that will be good for the habitat of wild animals that need to move in terms of a migratory corridor that was brought up by the Conservation Commission. Yeah. So it's good native habitat that will be managed rather than as a full tall forest as sort of shrubland that's 15 feet or less for the life of the project. So it's a much more substantial natural buffer that was being proposed here than the minimum standard that A&R was asking.
And you propose the life of the project would be how long?
25 years.
25 years.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, Joyce.
How much say did the townspeople and the select board have in putting that in?
What?
We haven't said anything yet.
No.
They're just bringing it, saying what they would like to do.
Just like, so it hasn't been,
No.
it's not definite that this is going to go in without the townspeople having say so.
That's why you're invited here.
Okay.
That's this process here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on this?
Sure. He's thinking.
The proposals that you're proposing to this, what effect did it have on the overall output of the array?
Yeah, so that is right toward the end of the write-up that we sent. I think it was on Friday.
Yep.
But it is,
The previous proposed size was 4.2 megawatts AC, and it's been reduced to 3.5 megawatts AC.
yeah. So it's 17% reduction. And a reduction.
I'm just, yeah, no, so I'm just sharing it right here too on the screen.
Yeah. So a reduction of 1,160 modules. So a very significant amount of solar modules reduced. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts that you wanted to share before? Okay.
Covered it all.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep.
Thanks, Nils.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
So now, I just want to say thank you because every, you know, from your point of view, what you're responsible for, every question or concern we had, you know, the last time we met via Zoom, you addressed. And I'm comfortable with those. I think the one thing that we haven't addressed is really the elephant in the room. And, you know, the town has a relationship with Great River Hydro, and we're in litigation, you know, with the assessment of the dam. And I think it would be difficult, from my perspective, it's difficult for me to support a project with an organization that we're in litigation with. You know, I think it speaks to trust and integrity. And how do we come to some kind of conclusion? There's, you know, how do we put that behind us and move forward? Because personally, I'd like to support this project, but, you know, I couldn't go to the residents of the town and, you know, say, well, I supported this in good faith when we're in litigation with the same company over a different issue.
If I may, and you know, you had an opportunity tonight to look at another settlement proposal that we have proposed, and this is what I believe. I believe that we actually have a lot more in common on this than we have disagreement on. In my mind, yeah, I've heard it said before, the Great River Hydro should pay its fair share of taxes. We agree. We agree that we should pay our fair share of taxes. We agree that a continual cycle of litigation is not good for our relationship. It's not good for the taxpayers of town. As a taxpayer of this town, Great River Hydro agrees with that. We agree very much that there's got to be a lot more common ground here than this relationship currently has. And what we're trying to propose, and what we've proposed in the settlement offer here that you've had before you tonight, is something that we hope you will see as a good faith effort. And we are vastly closer to the town's position in this settlement offer than we are in our position. And what we're trying here is to basically put a stop on this process and give us a break. Give us all a chance to hit pause and hopefully use that time to reset this relationship. That's what we're really interested in doing. That 5-year period of an ongoing settlement agreement gives us all certainty. Gives us all certainty about what the future holds for our property taxes, both for the town as revenue source and for us in terms of an expense. That's really important to us, and I hope it's important to you. The other thing it does is it gives us an opportunity to get beyond relicensing, to get beyond a whole bunch of different marketing changes or market changes that are happening now, to get beyond this large substation project that National Grid is engaged in, and gets us to a place a few years down the road here where we have a much better vision of what our future holds at Vernon Station. But more than anything, it gives us 5 years to engage in conversations that frankly we haven't been taking, we haven't been having. You know, I was talking to a colleague earlier today, and I said, you know, what's upsetting to me is that Vernon Station is in Vernon. Vernon Station and Great River Hydro should be a part of Vernon. And that to me is the opportunity that has been lost, and I think that's the opportunity we have before us to try to regain. We're gonna be here. We've been here for 100 and something years. We're gonna be here for an awful long time after that. It's better that we get along than the alternative. And I think this agreement that we've proposed for 5 years gives us that opportunity. And I really hope you'll accept it, because the alternative here is not great. The alternative means we go to court and we all spend a lot more money than I want to spend from the company's perspective and you want to spend from the town's perspective. And if we prevail, the town will be on the hook for something like $630,000 of refunds. That doesn't bode well for the relationship. So I really do think that there's a lot of reason here for us to come together and settle this and give ourselves some time to reestablish a relationship that I think would be really mutually beneficial to the both of us. So that's what we've tried to offer here. And these two items, I know you're saying that they're tied together and it's hard to not keep them tied together. I appreciate that. I also feel like the solar project and the hydro project are hopefully, different items altogether. The solar project is pretty much build it, maintain it. It's sort of a self-functioning thing. The hydro project is a lot more organic than that. And I think it really offers an opportunity for us to reset this relationship entirely.
I have two questions. One is on this.
Sure.
So you have the riparian buffer around the wetlands in every place except here. There's no riparian buffer going here.
Going to the south.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's actually off the property where the solar array is. So maybe, I honestly don't know why. Maybe that's probably a drafting error.
Okay.
Because it would have to be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then looking at Shelley's deed agreement, why would you not want it recorded?
I think we would want it recorded, wouldn't we?
No, I mean, because the agreement is that we build the fence. Once the fence is built, we've met the obligation. It's just sort of like any other contract. Once you meet the obligation of the contract, it's done. I mean, it would end up being an encumbrance on her property as a result, because the plantings and the fence installation are on her property. So, I would think it would be not beneficial to her to have an extra encumbrance on her land. But if that, I mean, that's a minor thing. If they wanted it recorded, we would record it.
Yeah, all right. As chair of the planning commission, I'd like to tell the board that our review of the process sounds like it's a net benefit for the town, and the planning commission voted to recommend to the town that we grant a certificate of public good for this project. All right. And the only issues that I have is, tonight, there was a lot of things outlined that are yet to be done. Things that are going to be done after the array is completed. And we're going to have to rely on Great River Hydro's word that these actions are going to be taken. From simple maintenance of a hedgerow to cutting trees in a archaeologically sensitive area. With the problems that we're having with Great River Hydro right now, and just negotiating the value of that property, I'm just thinking we're adding another layer of issues that are gonna come up every time we have to go into this. So, board's recommendation, planning board was, let's do it. My recommendation is, let's be careful on this.
Could I'd be happy to respond to those concerns.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the state process for the permitting, the state will issue a certificate of public good only after we have attested to our obligations as it relates to aesthetic mitigation and maintenance of the array. There is a statewide process for holding project owners to account for their aesthetic obligations and their mitigation. We have been notified when we have had arborvitae shrubs die, and we have had to go back on projects and replant in those areas where the trees have died. So there is a state process for making sure that the project owner is held to account for the maintenance requirements.
But you're not Great River, right?
No, but they will, as the project owner, will be held, they are the applicant for the permit.
Okay.
And they,
Be the
yeah.
accountable party.
And so they're the accountable party, yeah.
And the other aspect of that too, of course, is we actually are here. And versus, a developer that comes in, develops a solar project and they're gone, we're literally here. So, so if something's going wrong, we can attend to it either with our staff that are located right here in Vernon, or somebody can call us and we can be here, kind of thing for that kind of issue. So just like we're here tonight.
Hey, do you have a vote?
We've enjoyed farming the land for many years. And appreciated the use of the land for, I guess it's probably over 50 years. It's good land. I am not familiar with the history of litigation on taxes and stuff like that. Is this a first time event or is this a? No.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Almost a yearly thing? Okay. So, as a farmer, it's really hard to see good farmland go away. But these guys have been super generous to us in the past to allow us to use this land. It's the need for energy has been brought to the forefront, especially with our dependence on Canadian power and such. We ourselves have a solar array and application in with the state, and don't know if that's going anywhere or not. But anyway, we lots of thoughts, but probably ought not say a whole lot. But I guess I'm here more as an observer tonight than making any strong assertions. So thank you for asking.
So I guess to follow up a little bit on the current use of the land, I feel like I have some fears of this project setting a precedence because the select board has not supported projects in the past that are very visible, are on agricultural land, and we've not supported them and they haven't happened. So I have concerns that this sets a precedence that will kind of be out the window now. And I have a farm. I was probably one of the first ones approached for a solar project many years ago. Fortunately, I see now that they missed the deadline for the application and never followed through, but it would have been visible, it would have been on agricultural land, it would have gone against everything that's on our town plan right now. But like I said, we have not supported projects like that before. And so I have a fear that it will come back in our face that you supported that in a very visible agricultural area. Why won't you support ours when we wipe up this field into solar? I mean, solar has a place. I don't think it's there. I think it's on roofs, over parking lots, something a little less impactful on land use. And it doesn't really contribute to the economic, it's not any economic benefit to the town. So we're not gaining anything.
Okay. So do you gentleman or lady wish to make a decision tonight, or do you wish to mull it over?
When does the decision need to be made by, from your end as far as the certificate of public good? How long, isn't there a comment period and within that, or how does that work?
When we submit to the state, there's a 30-day comment period at that point. And our intention and hope was to be able to submit our application with the support of the select board. Just because we feel like that's the appropriate approach, is to let the state know that we've engaged the town and gotten a positive response. So that's our sincere hope that we would go in with that. If you chose not to vote, we're at the point where we are ready to submit to that, and we've been really just waiting on your deliberation before we submit to the state. So I don't know, I can't say whether we would then just proceed without your response and then wait for you, and then you would just participate in the 30-day comment period that's part of that 248 process. But honestly, we would really love to have your feedback and your support.
Nils?
Yes.
Can I ask how long you think it may be before you hear on the variance?
On the variance, I'm thinking probably about 2 weeks.
So do you need to wait for that until you can submit your final proposal?
We actually don't. We would submit with our designs and with our request for that variance, and then the Agency of Natural Resources would go through their process throughout the 248 review process.
There's a step you're missing in the process. When we get done mulling it over here, it's gonna go to Wyndham. And the Wyndham Regional Commission is gonna make a call on whether or not they believe there should be a certificate of public good, and they will talk directly to the PUC on that.
Yes.
Just so you're aware.
Yeah, absolutely. You're quite correct.
So what do you wish to do?
All right, I would like to make a motion that we approve the Great River Hydro Solar Project for that field, with the caveat that the area that's under review by the A&R, they get approval on that area.
Do we have a second? Hearing none.
Second.
You are, okay. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Sorry, guys. But thank you, we've learned a lot.
Disappointing, but we understand. Okay, thank you.
You did an excellent job, Cynthia. Okay, town admin report?
Okay, so the fire department brush truck will be picked up by a transport company and is headed to the winning bidder in Iowa this week. The town clerk held a 2-hour rabies clinic on Saturday. 5 dogs were vaccinated and 7 were registered. And that's all I have now.
Yes, true.
The next meeting is April 15th. Hopefully you have your taxes done by then, folks.
Oh, exactly.
And I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Yeah. Is there a second? Non-debatable, all those in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned at 7:43.